Hey, Sarah, welcome back.
Hello, I'm glad to be back.
We're glad to have you. And yeah, we thought we would really just continue our conversation from before. We were just talking about some different things you're doing using Claude Code and Cursor to help with some of the different writing things that you got going on at work. But that opened up a whole other can of worms about what's your dev environment like, what's your workflow
Mm,
like as you're using Claude Code, which we both love. So does lots of other people. And it's opened up some new ways of doing stuff. And so anytime I see somebody doing something in a different way, my eyes get real big. I get all excited. And what happened when I saw your setup? Yeah. Maybe you can share your screen and just share a little bit about how you set your stuff up and what you do and why.
awesome. Good. I'm glad to hear I'm not the only person who got into Claude Code and immediately nerded out about it. So last time we were chatting, I left us all on a bit of a cliffhanger because I was talking about how I had got into Claude Code really for more writing use cases that I expected in addition to the coding that I do at my job. And I was talking about how I used Claude Code to create the structure for a new course for the Datadog Learning Center. And then I was chatting about how I use these things called splash commands and subagents that maybe we'll have a chance to talk about today. And basically how I've used those to really like refine from where I started with Claude Code and basically get the best results for my content. And when I started, like I was total Claude Code newbie, and this I'm gonna maybe just share like some of the lessons learned along the way. So anything that looks really cool now, just trust me, it took a lot of iteration to get there. So let's see. So here's where we started out. We're in the Cursor IDE and we have Claude Code. This is the Claude Code Cursor IDE extension. This is my power combo I use, Cursor plus Claude Code, and it really has worked very well for me. And we were talking about how we use Claude Code to generate this new subdirectory for us with the structure for everything we need to create some content for a course that's going to be about Cloud SIM and orchestrating security response with our Cloud SIM tool. I was just getting into talking about we've got the folder structure, we've got some things Claude already created for us. Now we're really going to get into how do we get the very best quality from what we're going to create, what I'm going to co-create with Claude, even if they maybe that's generous. So let's see. So we were talking about slash commands. Let's keep going with that. So slash commands, they're just reusable instructions. You can configure them at the project level, which is what you're going to see in my environment here for the most part. But you can also configure them at a global level. So I have a few global commands like this comment shell script. This takes the shell script and writes comments and documentation in the exact way I would want it to. And then most of these are my project level commands that I have written from prompts and instructions that were working for me really well. And I wanted to just be able to repeat them with a given course. And we were talking about how in our Claude resources directory somewhere here, we've got a few different things. And one of the things that we have for this course we're working on is what's called a design document, which outlines what's going to be in the course. And this all been planned and really thought out. And from this design document, what I want Claude to do for me now is write an outline of the of the content. And the reason, like the outline thing is a big piece for me. This is how I have really figured out like best results. I first of all just had Claude generate me a course, and it obviously was like surprisingly, it was like scarily good. It was a pretty good result, but I want it to be excellent. So what I've gotten into now is this is basically the only thing I use Opus for, the Opus model, is I switched to Opus and then I use this outline LMS lessons. Oh, excuse me. I use this outline LMS from design doc command. So let's just run it. And I ask Claude, we can see here that all Claude is doing, it's going to look at this slash command that I've given it. And it's running through these instructions. So it's going to figure out what branch it's on. And then it's going to go find the design document using the branch name. Then I've told it, this is something I use in a lot of prompts. I've told it before you do anything else, read the entire thing and think about it big picture as a whole. That's been a really key tip for me. And also, let's see, that's why I find it worthy of using Opus here is I feel like Opus is really good when there's a lot at that like more big picture analysis. So I'm stingy. So most of the time I'm using Sonnet, but Opus has been worth it for me when we're at this outlining stage. And then the other thing I basically told it is don't make anything up. So it has to go to our resources that are configured in Cloud MD, and it has to back up every single thing that we put in the outline. And then lastly, this is a tip I learned from Reddit and then like read up on it in the Anthropic docs, is Claude really seeks to like XML. So XML really helps Claude understand what it's looking at more line by line. So like a big example use case for XML is in templates or in /command. If you want to give a general instruction and then you want to give the example, a tip I saw is like annotate the example part with example in XML, and then Claude really understands exactly what it's looking at like on that line. So I do that with these outlines, and this has been like a quality improver for me as well. I have a system where as Claude writes the outline, it annotates the parts of the outline with what it's supposed to use that part of the outline for. And you'll see that in a minute. And as I'm chatting away, you can see Claude is doing all my work for me over here. It's looking at some of the different resources that we've asked it to reference. It's looking at, this is like a custom MCP I have set up. I'm not that good at MCPs yet, so I don't want to talk about it. And then I'm going to save, here's the output. I'm going to save this detailed outline in my Claude resources folder, in the directory I have going on for this course. So now we'll see it here. Here's what Claude came up with for me. Detailed LMS content outline for our new course. Here explains our XML system. And then it divides the content into lessons, just the way that the source document it was working from did. And then it has outlined in detail what we're going to write for these lessons. And one other, this is like something I'm addicted to in Cursor. For the purposes of today, I'm not really going to look through this, but what I would do next is I would really read through this outline. The time spent at this stage saves a lot of time down the road. And I would find whatever we need to fix. And I would you could ask Claude to fix it. And you could do that back and forth in the conversation. Or a lot of time, if it's something simple, I'll highlight over it. And because we're here in Cursor, we can use this, I think it's called Quick Chat. And now I'm switching over to Cursor. Hopefully Cursor's feelings aren't hurt. I've been using Claude this whole time. And I'm going to ask, can you rewrite this one to be clearer? Or a lot of time I'll say, can you rewrite this one to be more concise or something like that? Or if in the LMS lessons, we'll see in a minute, if there's something in there that I just don't really like, I'll make a quick inline edit. This has saved me so much time because I used to do stuff like that with ChatGPT. I would go copy to ChatGPT and say, help me rewrite this sentence because it's trash. And then I'd copy back and blah, blah. Now I just do all that in Cursor Quick Chat. And now it's like a power combo.
Totally. Very convenient. One question I had, it didn't really, or at least I didn't see a visual representation of what model it was using when you broke in with that chat. Can you adjust that, or is it just going to use some sort of default when you're over on the other side?
Oh, in the Cursor, the Quick Chat? That's a good question. I think it's this auto toggle. Yeah, and then looks like I can do, where's my cool? I can do cool. I don't know. I can't figure out how to do this. But the TLDR is, you can change it. And what I personally am doing is I often use Sonnet 3.5 for that or something like that. It doesn't need the latest and greatest in my experience.
Well, and wasn't it yesterday? I think Opus 4.1 just came out too.
Yes. Have you used it yet?
No, I haven't.
No, me neither.
On my list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Any other thoughts or questions about that before I show you the last part of the process here? Hopefully the grand finale.
No, this is great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I talked about I'm addicted to clearing my context. I'm very against context poisoning. And so before I actually start writing from the outline, I'm going to clear the context. And then I'm going to switch back over to our worker V, which says default here, which is Sonnet in this case. And really, I'm not going to need to use Opus again. Sonnet is going to be able to take what me and Opus schemed together and go from there. Of course, I have a / command that is going to, and what that / command is going to do, let's find it real quick, is from that detailed outline you saw us work with a moment ago, I have a write LMS lesson from outline / command. And what it's going to do, it's going to go look at that outline. It's going to go read some of our source materials. And then it understands how to process that XML. And it's going to write our lessons. So this will take a minute. Let's get it started. And we'll run, you can see I'm addicted to creating / commands here. So hopefully it's easy enough to read. Let's see. And some of them are just lazy beyond what you would believe as far as replacing tasks for me.
It's the classic, don't repeat yourself.
Exactly.
And let me ask you this. Did Claude Code help you write those classes?
Oh, great. Yes, Claude is, let's get this started and then let's talk about that. All right. So we're going to write our LMS lessons for outline. For most of these, I've tried to evolve past even giving it arguments because I just try and get it to use the branch we're on or we'll use something like that. So now it's making its to-do list. It's going to go work. And while we do that, let's talk about how I write my slash commands and my subagents. We'll see in a minute. So yeah, that's been a big lesson for me learned is Claude is a lot better at Claude than I am in Gen. So when I want it to do anything for me, yeah, it writes these slash commands for me. And actually, I think I have, let's see. Oh yeah. So here's an example. This was a slash command I was working on. I haven't made it yet, but I wanted to create a slash command that specifically I can give it to Claude and Claude will create me like a detailed README for everything in the course directory, structured exactly like the way I want it in my other READMEs. And so I wrote this prompt that I'm going to give to Claude eventually that is, can you use your reference courses to analyze the structure of our README files and create a README template file? And then can you write me a slash command to take the course directory as an argument? So actually, I'd probably even take that out now and write the README for the course directory. Sometimes like Claude seems to get confused about like finding the slash command. So I give it pretty explicit instructions for that. And it's not that good yet at formatting them properly. So I told it, go look at the other ones first, then you can write my slash command. And when I run this, it will create that for me. And then the other really important part, and I do this with Claude.md as well, is it will iterate. I'll iterate on it. And it's specifically, Claude is super verbose when it writes these files. But then the funny part is it works better with shorter, more concise files. So I always have Claude iterate on it. And I'm like, can you make this more concise? And sometimes I'll tell, pretend you're an agent using this command to do this. Can you write the command in the way that would be the most understandable and clear about what we want or something like that?
Yeah. We're spending a lot of our days hand-holding these things, but we get a lot more done. Better, higher quality, higher quality.
Exactly. That's the goal. So you can see now this is writing our LMS lessons for us. And I'm going to toggle this to what's called auto accept now, so it doesn't have to ask us every time it wants to write the new file. This obviously is something you want to do with pair, but in use cases where I'm generating a lot of new stuff, that's when I'll toggle this on. Make this new directory and structure for me, then I'll toggle this on. And then let's see, the only other thing, not sure if we've seen it yet, but speaking of like repeatable things like slash commands, Claude also has these things called Subagent. And I see people using Subagents for a lot of different things, but Subagent is basically like an agent, your agent that is working over here can call the subagent and tell it to do something. People are using it for a lot of different stuff that I tend to prefer slash commands. But what subagents are super useful for in this use case so far, like for me, is subagents are really good at validating the work that the main agent did because they have their own context. So when you run the subagent didn't write this. It doesn't know like the thoughts and the context that were happening over here. It just looks at the finished product and it can evaluate that in an unbiased way. So I have a bunch of style guides in here and stuff that my subagents can use. And eventually we might not have time to see it right now because poor Claude, I gave it so much work to do. But like eventually what will happen is as we're running this slash command that's happening over here, eventually Claude is going to get to this step, use the LMS lesson validator subagent, and then it's going to call that subagent. We'll see that over here. It'll call that subagent. It's going to pass these lessons off to the subagent and say, okay, now check them against our style guides and against our rules. And that's been really powerful for me because like I was saying, like I don't have to tell the main agent that's writing, here's what's not to do. I just tell it based on what we want. And then the subagent can look with fresh eyes and knows all the rules. So I'm not planting like bad ideas in the context for the main agent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Does the subagent have access to the same slash commands or does it need them, or is there any relationship there?
That's a good question. I haven't gotten like too extensively in this project, but yes, the subagent can use slash commands. I'm like 99% sure. I think I'm doing that in some personal project. And the slash commands can use more than one subagent. And if I was to like write this again, probably what I might do, I might change up the order here a little bit. I don't know if this is optimized, but here you can see it's getting to this LMS lesson validator step right now. And this is where our subagent is now doing the bidding of the main agent. And what it's going to do based on this agent instructions right here, it's going to return a list of everything it found that's wrong in these lessons. And then the slash command is like still going, if that's the right way to describe it. And the slash command is going to take that list and it's going to fix everything before it tells me over here that it's done. So that's like the current state of the way I'm orchestrating it. But you can really start chaining a lot of things together in some personal projects. I won't even let you know how nerdy I am, some of the things I've done, but you can get the subagents and the slash commands working together. Pretty powerful.
We will definitely have to chat because I've got some other writing projects and different just projects in general that I'm trying to find ways to do some similar stuff, really, if I think about it. So
yeah.
So what I love too is the subagent. You don't really have to define it too much outside of the markdown file. That's its existence is what it says in that markdown file. But it doesn't collude with the main agent to provide slop. Like they're
exactly.
like a hard-coded checks and balance, basically, type of thing.
Exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah. And what you were saying about the markdown file, that's exactly, how we're talking about Claude is better at Claude. Although I will say that like, within reason, trust but verify, obviously, because Claude's super powerful in your system. So you got to check what you're telling it to do. I definitely went with the hardware a few times. But there's also these are called built-in slash commands. So I didn't make these are Anthropic or whatever. But anyway, this slash agent command, this is the way that I make the subagent files. And so when you run this, it looks like it's done. So let's run this. Claude will, in human, like natural language, will walk you through a couple of prompts and then it will create the agent for you. Okay. And that's like really been a great way to do it.
All right, nice.
But yeah, so I think we obviously won't go through it in detail, but we can come over here and see our finished product. Let's see. So it looks like maybe we wrote it to the wrong place. So we could refine from there. Resources. Let's see. So it read the outline, it studied the example, and then somewhere it wrote these files. Let's see if you can find me. Man, that was going to be like such a good payoff. And then, but
do you have GitHub attached? If you go to the repo, will it show you the last?
Yeah, here we go.
Files.
I do, but I don't have it set up quite yet for here. Let's find it. Oh, you know what? It's certainly possible that that my command might not be written to save it to the right place. So let's ask real quick. And I know you're not supposed to say thank you, but I do. I just can't.
I am very polite. All of the LLMs, just in case they judge us at some point.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If the reckoning comes, I'll be on the right side of it. Okay, let's see. So we got. Oh, I see. So I confused it. That's because I have this example folder set up, but then I actually have the real course everything. Here's where, so it wrote them all to this other really similar course. So my fault, but you can see now here we have these detailed LMS lessons that it wrote from that outline. And that's basically what I've been trying to learn how to do. And that's how I went about doing it.
Wow. That's really cool. It got me thinking. I thought we'll look into some stuff and try out some new things. Awesome. Sarah, I have a feeling there's probably a lot more we can chat about. Anytime you want to, doors open. But thanks so much for sharing these little tips and tricks and things that you've been learning with Claude Code and Cursor and different ways to use it, not just in coding. So that's great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you later.